feel the current state of Dead by Daylight is in a good position in terms of how fair and balanced perks are for both Killer and Survivor. However, there is one perk that seems a little off compared to the other perks, and that perk is No One Escapes Death, or NOED for short. First off, I wouldn't describe this perk as overpowered, as from my experience it usually nets the killer an extra sacrifice at the end of the match and nothing more. It also has really simple counterplay, which is to just break every dull totem so it can't even activate. My issue with the perk isn't how powerful it is, but how it seems to check many boxes for a perk that's simply unfun to play against. Some of mine and the general community's issues with the perk consist of a few things. Firstly, once NOED activates, survivors have no time to counter it before it's too late, as they only get told the killer is running it once someone has been hit by it. This feels unfair as you can't counter something that you don't even know is a thing before it happens. Secondly, it rewards the killer for failing at an objective. One of the objectives for killers is to prevent the generators being completed, or at least prevent them from being done too quickly by applying pressure on the survivors. It doesn't seem fair that a killer would be handed a bonus for failing at one of their jobs. That's basically what old Decisive Strike used to do. It rewarded survivors for failing at an objective, which was getting caught and down by the killer. Just a note, I'm not saying NOED is as powerful as old DS, because that obviously isn't the case. I'm just comparing them as they both reward the user for playing poorly, just to varying extents. Thirdly, and this is a big one, the main counter to NOED, which is destroying all the totems, isn't very fun at all. Cleansing totems is easily the least engaging thing you can do in Dead by Daylight, which is a massive issue as you have to put up with it if you want to counter NOED. On top of that, there's no way of knowing if the killer has NOED until the end of the match, so you could have spent a good chunk of the match cleansing totems, which turns out just to be a huge waste of time. I have some good news though. I've thought up an idea that would rework NOED and also fix all of the issues I just mentioned. As well as making the survivor's experience more fun, my change would also benefit killers by making games last a bit longer, which I believe is a needed change, as killers who don't run Hex Ruin often have generators completed quicker than they're able to react, assuming they aren't playing a top tier killer. I would recommend hearing me out on this change before you come to any conclusions about this rework, as everything I'm about to say serves a purpose that I feel would benefit the experience of both survivors and killers. Also, this change would only be able to go through if the perk Hex Ruin was reworked as well, as the current Ruin paired with the change I'm about to propose would be a little overpowered for killers. So here's the change. Firstly, NOED is no longer a perk and is now a passive ability for every killer. This means that NOED will activate as soon as the last generator is completed, but the killer won't have to run the perk. NOED will still be a hex perk though, so survivors can still destroy it after the last generator is completed. So I bet you're wondering, how does this fix NOED? Isn't this just a direct buff to killers? You see, that's where you're actually wrong. If you think about it, if survivors always know the killer will have NOED, then survivors will always make sure to cleanse all the totems. That means every match all 4 survivors will be breaking totems to prevent NOED, and the now passive perk will never activate, meaning survivors will never have to deal with NOED activating ever again. Of course, this comes at a cost, as survivors would have to spend precious time destroying the totems, which means games would last longer, which is a needed change to benefit killers. 2 additional changes I'd also like to make, as NOED will now be a gameplay mechanic and not just a perk killers can run, would be to both add an extra totem to every map, so 6 will spawn instead of 5. This is only because if a killer is running Hex Haunted Grounds and 3 other Hex perks, then all 5 totems will be taken up by Hex perks, so the game would need an extra totem so NOED has a chance to spawn on the 6th dull totem. The second change would be to add a totem counter or some way of survivors, and maybe killers, to know how many totems have been destroyed, as this would remove some of the mystery of knowing if your teammates are actually destroying the totems or not. If you're still not convinced, this is everything the change would do. Survivors would no longer have to deal with arguably the 2 most annoying perks in the game, NOED and Ruin, and killers would get longer games without needing to use up perk slots running NOED and Ruin, meaning they would have a larger variety of perks that they can run without feeling like they are just throwing matches. I personally think this seems like a pretty good change, and it's killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Most importantly, I would like to hear your opinions on this NOED rework. Comment down below if you like the change or not, and make sure to specify why. It's good to get other people's perspective on the matter. If you enjoyed the video, then don't forget to like and maybe even subscribe, as there'll be plenty more DBD content coming in the near future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.